CPI came out. Wow, what a joke that number was. Next. Yes, I had to laugh. When you start breaking down the CPI number print that happened today, there are some ugly, ugly things in there that I don't think any American would absolutely even agree upon. We all know that these numbers continue to be manipulated. I can spend an hour going over everybody out there saying, breaking these numbers down, saying that's a lie, well, that's a lie, well, that's a lie, well, that's a lie. But that's all next on Real Estate Daily. Welcome, everyone. My name is Troy, and every day we're going over the latest news in real estate, housing, and the mortgage markets. How did the CPI print? How does it affect us? It absolutely affects us. I'm going to go over the 10-year bond, how it reacted. That's actually very good. But before I jump into anything and everything, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I really would appreciate it. It really helps out the channel itself. I really want to get this. I want to continue to grow it. I'm going to give you the truth bombs every single day on what is happening in these markets. All right, let's jump right into it. Okay, inflation was flat in October from the prior month. Core CPI hits 2-year low. So the numbers all came in less. Now, if you were a let's call it conspiracy theorist, we know that last week we just saw some of the atrocious offerings from the Treasury, Janet Yellen, that nobody wants to buy. And it was so bad and atrocious that she worried that she couldn't sell bonds. And if you can't sell bonds, well, then you're just raising rate. You're doing all kinds of stuff because you need to keep the U.S. government open. And the U.S. government is the consumer of the gross consumer of the worst debt of all. So with that being said, we dive into the numbers. Now, one number that popped out to me, and I think that it's being really talked about everywhere, is that in these numbers, as we went down to 3.2%, projected at 3.3, went down to 3.2, core went from 4.1 to 4.0, that we saw healthcare. Now, think about this, guys. Over the past 12 months, it says in the inflation CPI numbers, that healthcare, what did it do? Did it go up? Did it increase? Did it stay steady? Did it decrease? Healthcare went down 34%. I need you to inhale that number, 34%. It said month over month, food went up 3%. Actually, year over year, 3%. So a year ago, it was $200. Now it's $206. Okay? Nobody would even feel that. Guys, these numbers are atrociously bad. I have a feeling that we're going to see manipulation run rampant, as we roll up to the next big Joey B, Orange Man fight, Rock'em Sock'em Robot fight. Well, actually, I don't think Joey B's going to even be around for that particular moment. All right, let's jump into the Kobesi letter. What do they have to say? Well, now, what is the chances of the Fed raising rates? Now, we saw Jerome Powell said about a month ago, he said, oh, yeah, I got one more rate raise in me. I got one more in 2024. And then here comes November 1st, no raise of rates. So we go, okay, well, next one is going to be December 11th. We know he's raising there. He just boxed himself in by what he had spoke about, and wham, all of a sudden, after these numbers came out, let's go take a look at the Kobesi letter. And these are what the futures show of where rates are going to be in the next 12 months. Let's break this down. It says rate cuts are expected to begin in 2024. No more rates. It says prior to this morning's CPI print, was a 30% chance of at least one more rate hike ahead. Rate cuts were expected to begin in June 2024. Now markets are pricing at least 4 rate cuts in 2024. Meanwhile, just last week, Fed chairman said he is not confident monetary policy is significantly restrictive. Markets are betting the Fed is done. And you see this right here. So we are here right now. So they're saying there's a 99.8% that on the 13th of December, we're going to see no rate hike, less than 1%. But then we start looking at it coming in, and it looks like, and we're looking at, January, February, March, April, May 1st, we're looking at a 50% chance of a rate decrease, 17% having a 50 basis point decrease, and there is a slight shot at 75%. Now we're looking at July. That was June. So July, we're looking at it pretty even at being a quarter to a quarter to a half, and now we're starting to see another 75 basis points going down, and you see these numbers adjust. Now these numbers are just looking into the future. If they were to cut rates by a quarter here, well then it looks like another quarter here is the bet, and then it would stay, you know, on the August print, but on September 30, this is the number one, the major would be another quarter rate, which would be 4.5, and there it's break even between whether they go another 1/4% here, and then it's another quarter. So we're looking at 1/4% going all the way down if this was right. So the 4 rate deductions next year would make it a whole point. We'll see, you know, if that's a fact, guys. If we get rates in the 5s in the real estate market, God help us. We're going to see the flood of buyers come into this market. You know, as long as unemployment can stay steady, people have money, this is what we're going to see. People jump in because this is the moment in time, probably one of the last times they're able to afford a home. We're going to see it. Now, until then, when's the best time to buy? I keep telling people, when there's no competition, it's the best time to buy. In the next 60 to 90 days, and I think a solid somewhere in the middle of February to the end of February, we're going to see very few buyers in the market. We're going to see more homes hit the market. Now, we'll see the more homes hit the market in January. Nobody wants to sell their house in December. It makes no sense. But if I was a buyer in December and someone had their house on the market in December, then they are motivated to buy, and I would look for those deals right then and there. Then I would, if anything, if I'm asking for closing costs, I wouldn't go for the 2-1 buy down, because I believe the 2-1 buy down is simply sitting in your future next year to refi out. I would then ask for closing costs, so then I would then eat up all the cash I have to bring out of pocket that would actually make up and put money and keep money in my bank account for those closing costs. Now, that's one strategy. The other strategy, I know, could I get the house cheaper? Getting the house cheaper doesn't help money in the bank. It only helps on your monthly mortgage. And your monthly mortgage is not that much. It doesn't bring it down. If I were to save $5,000 on my monthly mortgage from $595 to $600,000, makes no difference. But the $5,000 that goes in my bank account, rainy day, you know, I can do some upgrades in my house. I can do whatever I want with it. But I don't see any effect if I go from $600,000 to $595, and my mortgage payment would be so slight. All right, guys, let's jump into another Kobesi letter. This is very interesting. We went over yesterday that household income had jumped up from $88,000 in July of 2022 to $107,000 in June of 2023. Very interesting. A lot of people aren't talking about that because they keep looking at individuals buying homes versus households. What's a household? It can be made up of an individual, but more importantly, it could be a spouse, a wife, a significant other, 2 people together buying a home. So you take the combined money that they make, their salaries, you know, and combine them, their pensions, their money in the bank, their savings, whatever, it's all combined, right? And so this is what we just saw. It says, another day, another housing market record, okay? Home buyers must now earn $114,000 to afford a medium home price in a home, according to Redfin. That's up 15% from last year and over 50% since 2020. Meanwhile, the current medium home income is just at $75,000. Now, this is interesting because this is contradictory to what we saw yesterday with DS News and the National Association of Realtors. Now, Redfin, this is just one broker. It's not the National Association of Real Estate Agents, which are all the brokers that underneath that veil. So I don't know how good this is, but it says, in other words, medium home income needs to rise 53% for people to be able to afford a home. Now, again, like I said yesterday, and I'll say it again today, the affordability in a home isn't the price necessarily. It is a combination of the price as well as the interest rate. Okay, so if the interest rates go from 8 to 4%, you can afford more home. So instead of affording a $400,000 home, I can afford a $475,000 home. Please understand that the affordability goes up. It doesn't go down. So you have two things that you're looking at here when you're looking at affordability. Again, household affordability versus person affordability. That's one thing. Second is affordability is price of property and the interest rate together. Okay, that makes sense. Please understand that. All right, let's go jump into Peter St. Onge. He kind of, guys, if you want to know about the Fed and the bonds and what's happening here, you know, this is what he makes a point. And I really enjoy Peter St. Onge. You know, he's talking here that a couple of days ago, last week, the Fed couldn't sell any bonds. And they were panicking, and it was atrocious. We're seeing that Japan, Saudi Arabia, and China are all selling our bonds. Well, what does that mean to the everyday person? Well, if the bond market is not strong, and that's how the U.S. government stays afloat, right, is creating bonds out of thin air, then you come in and you give them the money for it, right, and they hold it for 1 month, 6 months, year, 2 year, 4 year, 30 year, whatever. Okay. That's how they continue to sustain themselves. It's kind of a Ponzi scheme if you actually look at it, right? It's exactly what's happening. Well, if no one's buying those bonds, can't keep funding the government. And if you can't keep funding the government, then all panic, breaks loose in Washington, D.C. So how do you get past that, right? Well, Peter St. Onge, and go check him out on X, he says that this is why it makes sense why the print went down. Because what happened when the print went down, what happened? Bond market went crazy. Stock market went crazy. S&P 500 went crazy. So all you did was just jack up all the different categories that you can put money into. You just jacked them all up, except for crypto. It already had ran. Crypto actually went down. And that's why, because the money was sucked out of crypto and went into the stock market S&P 500. You got to know that. That's why Bitcoin is down $3,000 off of last week's high, or we're looking at just under 10%, right? Very interesting. All right, and let's jump into the last piece here, 10-year bond. This is after hours. We have gone down significantly. So as it opened up yesterday, it was at 4.65. Now it's at 4.45. Can't wait to look at the numbers tomorrow. I'm hoping again that we're under 7.2 for FHA, under 7.4 for conventional, and I'm hoping we continue to see this. A lot of times it takes 12 to 24 hours before the whole market really inhales all the numbers, and then takes it and then applies it to the different markets out there, such as the stock market, S&P 500, and crypto markets, bond markets, whatever, derivatives. So with all that being said, guys, I'm excited about what's happening going on. I don't believe in the numbers, of course, but if it's going to help us in the long run, that's great. But it's not sustainable to keep making up numbers. It's just, you're looking to look at the American people, look as it's just not the government isn't telling the truth. Not that it hasn't already felt that way at this point, but it just continues to have less faith in the U.S. government and the people and the politicians that we absolutely vote on. All right, guys, thank you very much. Hope you have a great day. I will see you tomorrow on Wednesday. Take care.